long story short, call Kyle back. I'm like, all right, man, obviously I've known you a long time. We're not like crazy close, but I know you. I trust you. This is a deal that I'd be happy to take down together, kind of throwing out these ideas on how kind of that would look like, and kind of that 50-50 owning it together, tackling it down together would look like. And so, yeah, man. And I looked at it again, after making that decision. It's very similar to when you start off on a team in real estate, right? And starting off on a team is you are guided, and this is something that's brand new. Instead of going and trying to figure it out on your own and take twice the amount of time to get there, you are paying, whether it's through splits or whatever it is, you're paying for that education and that mentorship that fast tracks your understanding. And so I was like, look, again, if there's anybody that I can partner with that helps me that gets me to be more familiar in this space, somebody I know, like, and trust, I'm like, dude, this is it. So end up joint venturing, and that's how we kind of move forward and end up closing on the deal. Welcome back to the Pursuit of Property podcast. Today, I'm sitting here with my co-host and good friend, Scott Farrow. Scotty, how we doing today?
Dude, we're drinking an original taste Coke. And what is that?
We've got a Cosmic Vibe Sparkling Fruit Punch Celsius, baby. Bang!
That is a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
But we've got the caffeine. We've got the content. We're back. And we're not on Do Not Disturb.
I am. Someone's double calling. So it breaks through the Do Not Disturb. Oh, man.
Well, dude, we're going to talk about your recent trip. We did the deal review on the triplex for me out in Alabama.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about your adventures out of state.
Yep.
And the adventures of Tintin, for those who know. And we're going to talk about your short-term rental experience.
Yeah, so you got back from Alabama, like you said, did that podcast episode on your triplex, and actually took a look at a 10plex out there for us. And as most of you know who've been listening for a while, you and I have owned our long-term rentals, a couple single-family houses out in South Bend since 2020, so coming up on 4 years now. So that's what initially introduced us to the area. But literally the week after you got back, I hopped on the plane and went on out to South Bend for a couple reasons. Kind of the secondary one was checking in on our long-term rental stuff. We've had a couple things pop up out there, just the quirks of owning out-of-state rental properties. But the primary reason was exactly like you said, checking out a new short-term rental out there that as of today, when we're recording this podcast, is now officially up and live on Airbnb. So the primary use, short-term rental, strictly on Airbnb. It's also on VRBO, but mostly being utilized through and booked through Airbnb.
So I don't know very much about this deal. You are a tight-lipped dude about the stuff you got going on. So I pretty much have to pry it out of you if I want to get any insight. So the good news is now I've got you at gunpoint in front of cameras.
I know.
How did this even come into your peripheral vision? I mean, I didn't even know you were looking at doing something like this until you already were in contract. So go all the way back, I don't know when this was, and start from the beginning of how you even started this adventure.
Well, dude, it was all kind of by happenstance. Obviously, we've owned our short-term stuff out there for a while. And literally, it honestly started with a thought. I was like, we've got these cool houses. We love the South Bend area. Freaking love Notre Dame. And we know Notre Dame, being one of the biggest college football teams year over year, has, the diehard fan base and following. I was like, dude, with kind of this market that we've grown to know and we like, it would be really freaking cool to have an Airbnb out here. Like, one, it'd be cool whenever we need to go out there and check in on our stuff, or, in the future, if we ever double down and buy some more single family homes out there, it can be a place that we can go and stay. And Two, knowing that, okay, hey, if there's this huge college, and not just football, but other sports and other alumni events and this, that, and the other, like I would think an Airbnb would probably crush out here, especially if you've got any kind of close proximity to Notre Dame. So honestly, dude, we're both a part of, they have a Facebook group out there, an investment Facebook group, and people are throwing deals in there all the time. And so that was always just a thought in my head. And I'm scrolling through Facebook in that, just the feed. And there was a deal that popped up in that Indiana Facebook group from a wholesaler. And so I give this wholesaler a call and I'm like, hey, I looked up this address, looks pretty close to Notre Dame. I mean, looks like you've got maybe somewhat of a deal here. I've invested in the area. Can I schedule a walkthrough? And she was like, yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Are you in state? Are you out of state? Who's going to walk it? And so I then call up our agent in the area, our go-to gal, Jen Arizmendi. And I said, Jen, obviously I can't walk this. I'm not making the trip out here just to see it. Are you able to walk this for me? So she said, yes, absolutely. She goes to walk it and she calls me up and she's like, Cade, this shows nothing how it's like in the photos. The layout is super funky. It's honestly probably even too small to be an Airbnb. It could work as a long-term rental, but even then I think they're asking too much. And I was like, that's the great thing about having a reputable boots on the ground member in that city. And so I called the wholesaler back and I kind of gave the feedback. And then it was like, okay, well, hey, we've also got this other one popping up right down the street. Is that something is this something you'd be interested in? And I was like, yeah, I've already got Jen out there. And I'm like, Jen, is this something you're able to go walk? And she's like, yes, absolutely. And so it wasn't even actually that first deal that got posted. It was this one that popped up, the second one right after, where our agent Jen was already walking it, goes to walk this one. And that's honestly how the deal kind of came together like that.
When was this? Like October?
This was in November of last year.
Of 23?
Of 23. Yeah.
And
November of 23.
So it was the same wholesaler.
Yes.
And at that point, did they have that deal locked up, or was it like, tell me your price and I'll lock it up?
No, at that point it was, hey, this is the price. Talk with Jen. She was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's throw it together. Got kind of that reassurance for comps and kind of asking price. And this house ended up obviously being significantly bigger. Previous owner was an investor and he just had too many projects going on. And this one was at a standstill for a while. And just wasn't getting any work done. So it was kind of like, somebody who you don't think would usually sell for a discount is somebody who's so busy working on other things that this one just kind of fell through the cracks.
Now, how big is the house?
House is, the main level is around 2,200, 2,300 square feet. And then basement of the same size.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you were looking at this deal before, having the walkthrough and anything, like, did you run any numbers? Like, were you looking at it as a short? How do you even decide if you're going to walk it?
Dude, I mean, at the price it was at, I was doing rough numbers. Obviously, Airbnb short term, I knew nothing about. Like, right? It started with the thought like it'd be freaking sick to have something out there. But at the purchase price they were asking, I knew somewhat, like, either way, even if this didn't, if I couldn't get the Airbnb thing to work or whatever, the numbers, there was a huge spread there just to do it as a flip if I needed a cop out. And honestly, based on my conversations with Jen, even if I was able to close on it and for whatever reason wasn't able to flip it, worst case scenario, I could still turn it around and throw it on the market. It'd still be a little profitable. So kind of ran through each of those and was like, well, fuck, dude, let's just hop in and see what we can put together.
So you tied it up. What price did you get it at?
So purchase price was $180, but then was able to pay out Jen a little bit as well. So I think we ended up somewhere between $180 and $185.
And then what are homes in the area fixed up selling for?
At the time, homes in the area were selling for around 500, 550.
500 or 550 in Indiana.
Yeah. And the reason, so we've done a deal analysis on some of our single family homes. All of our houses are kind of either in the southwest or a little bit northwest part of South Bend, all west of the river. This one, I think if you put it into your maps, I think it's 1.3 miles away from Notre Dame. So obviously in a bigger house, much better neighborhood class, I would say an A-class neighborhood. So yeah, in terms of comps, that's kind of what things were going for in this area, being, east of the river and closer to Notre Dame.
So is this like the neighborhood where the professors live, or who lives in this area? Do you even know?
Honestly, there's several. The neighbor it's a rental property. It's an Airbnb. I don't think it's an Airbnb. It's used for student housing. So it's students, it's some staff and faculty, and it's a mixture of homeowners in there as well. So mixture of investors who own rentals, and they're renting it out to either student housing or professors or that sort, and homeowners as well. So it's a little bit of a mix.
$500,000 just is like insane for that market. I mean, we've seen $1 million homes over there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's just, when you're used to seeing $100,000 fixed up prices or $200,000, $500,000, you're thinking to yourself, how many people are even buying there? But, like you said, you're a mile away from a really prestigious school. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And so, I mean, at that point, I'm like, look, at that point, we had our long-term stuff out there. Our goal going into this deal, I was like, dude, I would love to take this down myself. That was my intent going into the deal. I was like, we've had some experience out there. We each had a desire to grow our own rental portfolios as well. We were in a good spot with our long-term stuff. I was like, dude, it's time to put on my big boy pants. Let's figure out a way to make this work and add door number 1 to kind of my personal portfolio. And so we open escrow, and I'm like, dude, I'll figure out the funding later. And go into escrow, and the first issue I have is the funding issue for private money. Obviously, with this being a direct sale, needed to be cash and or hard money or / private money. And I'm throwing feelers out there. The lenders that we had used previously out there, money was tied up. I was door knocking hard, trying to just freaking gather up some funding for this deal, because I knew I had a freaking home run deal, whatever, way it ended up shaping out. And dude, just couldn't find the funding. So then either other lenders, either all the money was out or they had not lent out of state before. And even with the track record and kind of the deal presented on paper, there was just kind of that hesitancy to loan out of state. And then I'm also, I look up the hard money route individually, and obviously a lot of my individual experience out here in California, we had this rental property experience, but a lot of my stuff was very wholesale based, not fix and flip based. And a lot of hard money lenders want to see that track record of, okay, hey, show me your kind of fix and flip experience. They don't really count wholesales towards that track record as heavy as fix and flip. So tried to bark up that tree, and here I am at kind of a dead spot in terms of funding.
How long were you working on funding?
Probably about a week and a half, longer than I should.
How long was your escrow?
Escrow, I think we did a traditional 30-day escrow.
Okay.
There was no stress to get it done sooner. I think we may have wrapped up a couple days sooner, but it was your kind of traditional 30-day.
Huh. And you started with private money lenders. You presented your experience. For some reason or another, they weren't going to be able to do it. Either their comfortability with out of state, or the people that were comfortable already had loans out.
Yeah.
Then you go to hard money. Who did you talk to for hard money?
Oh my gosh. I can't even remember. I think Kiavi may have been one discussion. There were a couple referrals I got for some hard money closer out there on the East Coast. So I probably about 3 hard money lenders in general that just didn't.
And they wanted to see flips where your business was on title.
Exactly.
They wanted to see what you bought it for, the P&L, what you sold it for.
Yep.
And if you couldn't do that, it was a no-go, or it was just a really high rate?
No, it was pretty much a no-go at that point, because in their mind, it's like, okay, great. At that point, I think we were maybe at 7 out of our original 9 houses, or maybe we were back down to the 5 we are now. Either way, wanting to see more of that fix and flip experience, because the fix and flip was going to be the, kind of the cop out if, it working as a rental for whatever reason didn't work out. So, then I'm sitting there and I'm like, look, dude, I know there's a deal here. I need to figure out a way to close on this. And obviously the intention was to have it be an Airbnb. That was always the primary intention. And so, one of the first guys I met, and I think you probably already knew at the time, you had been, in real estate a year, then I got in. And I think one of the first guys I met when I joined the team, was an investor we know here locally named Kyle Stanley. And
we stand for Kyle Stanley.
Damn right, baby.
I know.
Let's go.
You're listening to this right now. This man has the prettiest golf swing in the sport. Handsome devil.
That's right. You guys were out golfing the other day.
And a fantastic investor.
100%. And Kyle, over the past, 2 or 3 years, maybe, he made the segue into the short-term rental space. Built up a huge coaching program in the Airbnb and short-term rental space. I think operated 80 plus doors between, Airbnbs he owned himself / arbitrage. So literally ate, slept, breathed, everything short-term rental. So originally I asked Kyle, I'm like, dude, I originally hit him up and I sent him the info and I'm like, hey, I'm all out of options for funding here. My main goal is to have it be a short-term rental. Do you have any contacts for private money? And he was like, and he named off a couple contacts. All of contacts I had already, worked up and knocked on the door and gotten no's for whatever reason up until that point. So I'm like, dude, thank you for sending, these names of some people over. I've already barked up all those trees and nothing. And he was like, well, dude, I'm not going to pressure you into this option, but, I'm just looking at these numbers and the deal you've presented. I've never invested here in this market, but you definitely have a deal here. And I've got the track record for hard money. If it's an option and, you can do your thing if you want to continue reaching out for some more contacts, but I'm here on the sidelines if it's something that you want to partner on, and I can bring some of that Airbnb and short-term rental experience. And so I was like, dude, okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Let me, I'm not going to say yes or no right now. I still want to try and exhaust some of these options. And I we finish. And at that point, I've had conversations, and we've had conversations too, right? Like there's always been a goal and a desire to own rental properties yourself, right? We started out by going and investing together and owning them together, and the right partnership can be fucking huge.
It's just like a marriage.
It's exactly like a marriage.
This needs to be restated on the record.
Yeah.
Don't buy an investment property with somebody that you don't know really, really well. Yeah. We joke that we've been married for 4 years. My wife jokes that we've been married. Yep. Your fiance jokes that we're married.
Yep.
It's a real relationship that you need to manage.
Yeah.
So don't just jump into partnerships. Think about it.
Yeah. And I'm a little disappointed in my thought process back then, because I let my pride get in the way. I'm like, dude, I would feel defeated if, dude, I went into this, I told myself I'm going to take this down myself. Like it was time to put on my big boy pants and figure out a way to make it work. And I was like, dude, like why? I don't want to partner. I don't want to partner. I want to be selfish and keep this entire deal to myself.
It's not selfishness though. Based on what you're saying now, at least, and it sounds like you're being honest because you're sharing that you're embarrassed.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't sound selfish. It's not as much about the money side of it. It sounds like it was maybe a confidence thing and showing yourself like that you could do it by yourself. It didn't sound like it had to do with the money.
Yeah. No, and That's 100%. That was the primary reason. And so I mull over that conversation with Kyle with a little bit. I talked to my now fiance, and kind of explain, kind of what's going on and what Kyle kind of pitched he would bring to the table if we tackled this down together. I remember we had a combo and I was like, look, dude, I have this. I've barked up all the trees for private money. Here's kind of the conversation Kyle and I had. And he told me, look, dude, if there was anybody in our sphere that we know that it would make sense to partner with, it'd be with the guy who has all the Airbnb experience. So if that's what you need to do to get the deal done and get it across, like there's no other partner I can think of in our sphere that would be better in that sense.
And you got to think from the partnership standpoint, you're bringing what an experienced investor is saying is certainly a deal, which tells me it's more than just a small deal.
Yeah.
And you're bringing the localized market knowledge, maybe some of the contacts and the help of the area.
That's exactly
And he's bringing the money aspect and the management side. Airbnb is an active job. So it's like, it's more 50-50 than a lot of partnerships that you see. It's not like he's just like, yeah, I'll fund it and give me 50%. It's like, hey, I'll fund it, but I'll help bring funding, but I'll also guide you through setting it up, which I bet we're going to learn about is not an easy process.
And that's exactly it. And so long story short, call Kyle back. I'm like, all right, man, obviously I've known you a long time. We're not like crazy close, but I know you, I trust you. This is a deal that I'd be happy to take down together, kind of throwing out these ideas on how kind of that would look like and kind of that 50-50 owning it together, tackling it down together would look like. And so, yeah, man. And I looked at it again, after making that decision. It's very similar to when you start off on a team in real estate, right? And starting off on a team is you are guided and this is something that's brand new. Instead of going and trying to figure it out on your own and take twice the amount of time to get there, you are paying, whether it's through splits or whatever it is, you're paying for that education and that mentorship that fast tracks your understanding. And so I was like, look, again, if there's anybody that I can partner with that helps me more familiar, that gets me to be more familiar in this space, somebody I know, like, and trust, I'm like, dude, this is it. So end up joint venturing, and that's how we kind of move forward and end up closing on the deal.
So you guys went hard money?
We did, yeah, hard money.
And what from the time that you partnered with him, what was the next step? Did you guys start getting quotes? Did you wait until you owned it to get quotes? Like, I don't even know how you go about getting an Airbnb up and running.
Yeah.
So talk through that. Like, what does it look like?
So right before we're about to close escrow, we fly out to South Bend in December of last year, and we're able to walk it, get eyes on it, before closing. We're still, I think we may have extended our inspection period by a little bit just so we could get, time it right by getting out there in person. But with a project this size, we were like, all right, let's go see it in person. We lined up to have Jen, our agent, there with us, some contractor connections that she brought, walk it with us. And we started to put together kind of the game plan of what that looked like. Trip wraps up. We're like, all right, this is good. This looks good. We've got a good game plan with our contractor. Let's fly back, give it a couple days, and escrow will be closed and we'll get this thing underway.
So you buy it. Now what?
Dude, this obviously a house that's 2,200 square feet. I mean, if we just kind of ballpark and shoot those numbers out.
Fresno, does it have major big ticket item repairs?
Needs windows, does not need a roof, and does need an HVAC. So it needs everything except the roof.
$92,000.
So even just kind of ballparking, and that's just at 22 square feet with the main floor. There's a basement that's also around 2,200 square feet that we know we need to go in and renovate.
65,000 more? So
we were anticipating being pretty much with furnishing being around 160, 170. We were telling ourselves kind of being conservative at 170. And that was doing windows, that was doing the HVAC, and that was doing the entire main floor. And then doing the basement. Because at that point, the basement was unfinished, but you still had all 2,200 square feet.
And you're all in the deal somewhere around 400,000? 190?
That was the projection.
Yeah. But just talking through the projection, you're...
Purchase price of 185.
185, closing costs, interest, and then the rehab, you're probably close to 400.
Yeah, exactly. And so, honestly, man, the rehab process went pretty smoothly. I mean, obviously, you think we had experience managing projects and rentals from out of state, right? So honestly, it was just getting in the groove with our contractor of, okay, hey, every Friday, let's get updated photos and videos of the project. A heck of a lot of FaceTimes, walking through, making decisions like that. The project just took a massive amount of time. So we closed at the end of December. Work starts a little bit after the 1st of January, after that holiday season, because we kind of fell in that dead period of holidays where the contractor was still a couple of weeks out. And then, I mean, dude, we flew out back in earlier this month in June, and damn near it was being worked on until we got out there. So a 6-month project from start to finish, and rehab ended up coming in over at like 30 grand over at 200. We were pretty much right around that round number of 200.
What led you guys to going over?
Dude, it was honestly just stuff. Part of it was the furnishings. And then another part of it was things that we thought could be salvaged. But then when we got in there, we were like, okay, if we're in here at this point, we just need to take care of it. One item was exterior on the fence. So when we didn't originally anticipate replacing the entire fence, we ended up replacing the entire fence. On the inside, we had some issues running some plumbing and some electrical down to the basement that we thought were going to be okay. That ended up being another, significant chunk of that 30, just making sure all the water and electrical and everything ran smoothly down to the basement. And then honestly, man, just a little bit of extra holding costs. The entire house was done, but the manufacturer of the kitchen cabinets fucked up. And that was another 4-week delay where the entire house was done. So that's another month of holding costs, but was just waiting on the kitchen cabinets. So just, some small and minor things that all just kind of compounded on top of each other to kind of push us over that 30 grand over budget.
Okay. So you bought it end of 2023. Mm-hmm. You walked it in June of 2024, mm-hmm. earlier this month. Mm-hmm. Where are you at in the deal? How did it look when you got there?
Yeah. So this was the tough part too, right? I wanted to make sure, so we had kind of this trip plan and this deadline set. The first purpose of it was kind of to have it be like a blue tape, quality control final punch list, right? And so we get there, the house is fucking phenomenal, dude. It is so badass, but there's a lot of these little odds and ends that, you can't tell the contractor to do his own final punch list, right? They were the ones doing the job. So it was good to be there. We had, a good chunk of some blue tape to knock out. And, that we wanted taken care of, especially before guests, we got it live and guests started booking it up. So, dude, it turned out freaking pimp. The main floor, 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
I've never heard you say pimp before.
Dude, it turned out freaking pimp. Main floor, 3-bed, 2-bath. And then the basement, we ended up adding another master suite down there, essentially. So another bedroom and another bathroom. And then the entire downstairs is just dedicated to diehard Notre Dame. So a bunch of memorabilia, has a built-in bar, pool table, dartboard, poker table, all downstairs is essentially where we knew was going to be the drawing point for this Airbnb that would kind of separate it from the others, was just all the space in the basement. So, all of those things coming together, I mean, the basement turned out freaking awesome.
So when you guys were going through the strategy of the Airbnb, was the idea to make it like the Notre Dame diehard fans' dream rental home?
Yeah.
Is that what was the differentiator?
Yeah, the thing we didn't want to throw up Notre Dame all over the house. And there are a couple reasons for that. One is if this ever needed to be turned into a long-term rental or something like that, we didn't want the entire house to be branded Notre Dame. And the other thing is, obviously this is close to Notre Dame. It's in South Bend, but there's going to be people who book this house that are visitors of the opposing team.
Bama.
And so exactly. So if the outside of the house, the main floor, the base, if everything's Notre Dame, that could potentially deter some people away, right? So the exterior and the main level of the house, your traditional flip and rehab and furnishings. There's nothing really Notre Dame themed at all on the main floor, just kind of your normal furnishings. Stuff turned out really well. I mean, you could say the blue cabinets in the kitchen are Notre Dame blue, but blue cabinets are, popular color with kind of the white countertop. So all of those show very well in pictures, but no Notre Dame. But we were like, look, we know a large population of our bookings are going to be, for Notre Dame, people who enjoy Notre Dame. And so we knew that basement was going to be this kind of that space to showcase all of kind of that that diehard Notre Dame down there. So that was kind of the vision and what ended up all coming together.
Yeah. Notre Dame fans are a lot like Cowboy fans. They're just diehard.
Bro.
No joke.
Except Notre Dame wins more than the Cowboys.
I think Notre Dame's won more Super Bowls than the Cowboys.
There's a lot of jokes.
Jonathan, are you a Cowboys fan? Okay, thank God. For you Cowboy fans, I'm sorry, but it's true. So you guys had some strategy here on how you were decorating it, all that. You went a little over budget. When you walked it, you did your punch list. You said earlier that it's already on the market now. It's only been a few weeks since you've been back.
Yeah.
What does it look like now? What was it like getting it on Airbnb, on VRBO?
Yeah, dude, the systems and processes that go into that, and to rewind a little bit, like in terms of the management process, Kyle's wife, Gracie, huge in kind of interior design. They're really close friends with some good friends of ours, Aaron and Cletus. Obviously, they knock it out of the park. Aaron with their designing in their homes too. So Gracie kind of took a forefront lead role in kind of the whole design of the house, which was really cool. Both Kyle and I just kind of stepped back and let her do her thing, which was nice. But then, yeah, kind of exactly that. The systems and processes that then go into, okay, not only publishing and getting a house on Airbnb, but how do you respond to the messages? What templates need to go out? Airbnb rewards hosts who respond in a quicker manner than if you have a message come in and it sits for a little while, right? So what does all of that look like? And so it was cool to kind of be in the passenger seat and learn from Kyle on how to get those systems set up. Because when we talk short-term rentals, there's the Airbnb site. Another short-term rental website is VRBO. Obviously, those are two completely different systems. So how can you bring that together and manage everything in one place? What does that program look like? And so, dude, being able to see that behind the scenes, and obviously I would in no way call myself maybe proficient, not advanced, not a pro, anything like that, because that is a lot of what goes into the management piece. But just being able to see that and now kind of being, like I said, in the passenger seat to learn how this process goes when guests book. If an issue pops up when a guest is staying there, what does that look like? And so that's what I've been walking out right now. We had our first guest who stayed for a little over a week. They just left over the weekend. We had some of those hiccups pop up. We had some issue with the water, and things that, require attention right away, and you can't just kind of let property management handle it or kind of push it off onto anybody else.
So did you guys have to build out like a cleaner and a landscaper and a handyman? And like, who do you need on your team?
Yeah. Cleaner's going to be by and far probably the biggest person on your team there. And they need to be on the same page with scheduling. When a guest leaves, if a guest coming in the next day, that cleaner has a small window of time where they need to go in and knock stuff out. So cleaner is going to be a big one. Landscaper is obviously a big one. And then handyman, you named kind of the big ones. For somebody who can answer those, 9 p.m. calls or midnight calls or emergency calls that can go out and immediately assess and handle if something pops up while a guest is there.
How did you find them?
landscape, all of these were organic connections through our contractor and connections that we had with Jen or whoever already kind of being in the area. And so honestly, the connections through our contractor and through boots on the ground that we had already made a couple years back, that team was able to be solidified pretty quickly.
And you got it on the market. You already had your first guest.
Yeah.
What issues popped up? I mean, I would assume your first guest is going to have the most issues because that's going to be the first time somebody's staying in it. Or did you stay in it when you went?
We stayed when we went. And obviously with the blue tape and stuff, we had, that to take care of after we left. But honestly, with the guest, it was, one was a water issue, like a leak issue from one of the bathrooms, which honestly wasn't the end of the world, but it's like, okay, this is a water issue. This needs to be addressed. It didn't pop up while we were staying there. So it was just one of those things where it was kind of, as soon as we left, something was going to pop up, right? And kind of working through those things. So it's, just kind of being, it is kind of a little bit on call, right? But being able to utilize those systems and processes to where you're still having a pulse and a temperature check on running these things, but you have the boots on the ground that can handle these emergencies when they pop up.
Who's handling all the messaging and all the calls and bookings and all that? That seems like a full-time job.
Yeah. So Kyle's taken the lead with, and again, this is part of the systems and processes, with when you're utilizing both Airbnb and VRBO. So a lot of automated, with kind of like those merge fields that we use for our drip campaigns and stuff like that. The systems that is used to manage all the messages and the bookings and stuff like that has things that are very similar. So a message comes in, all right, this template is built out so a message immediately goes back to the guest with some of those field merges, ask them a set of questions. So a lot of it is automated. And then Kyle and I, we kind of have our thing where, okay, Kyle, first half of the day, if anything crazy pops up that can't be taken care of by the automated messages, just kind of keep a pulse on it. We have the notification set up on our phone just in case. So he kind of handles that first half of the day. The back half of the day is kind of where I double check and keep an eye on things with kind of some help and guidance from him, because I'm still trying to get into the groove of what that looks like. So a team effort between the two of us, but a lot of it is just automated through those systems and those automated responses and messagings that Kyle brought and knew how exactly which automated response should go out when, what info it should include. Like it very, very in-depth and built out. So
I'm going to ask the question everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
Are you the Airbnb host who makes me put all the sheets in the washer and take out the trash and all that? He is.
I am, dude. I am. I'm that
What's
guy.
What's the feedback on that? Have you had people push back?
We have, and granted, I think we're 2 guests who have stayed so far. So we have not, obviously, I'm sure as we get more guests, I'm sure there's going to be part of the feedback that gives it that way. We haven't had any negative feedback from the first 2 guests. I mean, the reason for that too is, again, when there's a short overlap like that and our cleaner needs to get in and out, between 4,400 square feet of space, I mean, every little thing helps to have all of those sheets pulled off. Then our cleaner isn't spending the time pulling all those off, trying to conglomerate everything. If everything's there, it saves her time just to throw and put that, washer and dryer, those loads on repeat and crank stuff out. So obviously it's a helpful thing from the guests to stay there if they're able to, strip the bedding and do all that sort of a thing. Not the end of the world if they don't, but we do ask.
I was just curious. I've heard stuff, and obviously we've heard stuff about landlords, wholesalers.
Yeah.
There's always people talking crap.
Always.
I've never been in your shoes, so I honestly don't know. What are you guys charging for like rent, per night? How did you guys come up with the pricing?
Yeah. So, and this is where, again, I'm in the passenger seat and kind of learning what goes into the pricing strategy. Obviously, we knew going in, and this is going to be the case, football season for this house is going to be the bread and butter. The most of the money made on this house will happen during that football season. And so right now, during the summer, there's a bunch of things where it's really kind of algorithm based in terms of pricing. that helps, whether, and we have the option where you can either, if you don't want access to the basement and you just want, kind of the 3-2, you can book just the main floor, which is obviously cheaper than if you want the main floor and the basement.
How do you lock off the basement?
Their code to the basement. So it's like a keypad lock that goes down into the basement. So if somebody just wants a cheaper stay, maybe it's, just a husband and wife and a kid, and it's not someone who wants to come down and party and use that basement, that's obviously going to be cheaper if you're just doing the main floor. Dude, and then for football season, we have it blocked off right now because we're waiting until we get closer. We met with a few investors while we were over there earlier this month in June, one guy owns 8 Airbnbs in the area, semi close to Notre Dame, as well. One of them that's very close to ours. And he was like, look, dude, I will tell you guys right now, between the main level and the basement with this entire house, on the key game day weekends, you guys are going to make between $8,000 and $10,000 a weekend. No big deal on renting out this house.
$8,000 to $10,000 for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if we could go, and now I feel bad.
No,
we've never gotten to go.
I know, we've never gotten to go.
$8,000 to $10,000, and how many games are there? I mean, obviously, it's not every single game.
Not every single home
USC.
I mean, yeah, there's a big one against Florida State. Yeah, honestly, I don't even know the answer.
How
to
many
that
games
question.
are in the college football season? I don't even know.
I want to say maybe 10 to 12, and probably about half of those are
Notre Dame is
home
uniquely kind of a draw in itself.
Yeah.
So that helps.
I mean, dude, even just the campus in and of itself. I mean, we walked the campus, dude, the entire college itself is amazing. So, that we know during football, we're waiting to get closer, because honestly, we don't even know, like, we're going to see what other Airbnbs are charging for in the area that have already gotten booked and at what price. That's kind of the ballpark we got from a few investors who own Airbnbs in the area. So we know that football season, it'll be interesting to see how this first year plays out and how it performs outside of football season. Because like I said, the majority of the money is going to be made during football season. If the rest of the year is really, really slow, that could make this Airbnb break even at the end of the day. Now, that's not what our analysis is saying, but you never know until you're in here and give it a full year.
What are you charging on the off season?
Off season, I mean, for context, the person who just booked, a little over a week, I think was $355 a night or something like that. So, and that was for the entire house, including the basement. So, and that's right now in July. No really crazy event going on out there in South Bend right now. So, kind of ballpark ish right there, for kind of the non-crazy football
It's a big
season.
house. You think about what a hotel costs. It's like, $150, $200 a night.
Yeah.
For not a nice area. Mm-hmm. So that sounds actually like still pretty much a deal.
Yeah.
And how are you guys going to exit the hard money? Like, how does that work?
We're going to do a refinance. It's going to be a DSCR loan. So for those people who are not familiar, DSCR, essentially the property is owned in an entity. It's going to be refinanced into the entity. It's not, we've utilized refinances into our own personal names the conventional way. It's just going to be a DSCR refinance through the same hard money company that we did for the initial hard money. They also do refinances. So they're going to be handling the refinance.
Have you guys started that?
It has been started. It's not done yet. And so our anticipation now, and kind of talking about how this deal is wrapping up, is initially comps were kind of in that 550 mark. There's now 4 comps in the area that are between 650 and 730. And so obviously we always want to be conservative. So the ARV is bumped up significantly with those comps closing within that half a mile, similar square footage now with adding that extra bedroom and bathroom in the basement. So our hope and our guess is it comes in around that 650 mark. But even if that appraisal comes in a little bit lower, we still have some flexibility and we should be good.
And you guys are probably all in this thing somewhere around 425, 430.
Yeah. Around, I think, we were 410 maybe, or 415, somewhere between there. And I think a value of 650 put that, refinance amount at 445 or something. So we have that a little bit of flexibility there.
And is your goal here just to be no money out of pocket to own the place now?
That's the goal.
And if it breaks even, you still have write-offs, debt pay down, appreciation.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're also going to make cash flow, and you're
That's the
also
hope.
learning how to run this new business.
100%. Yeah. Because I mean, we've got mentors. We know people who are in the Airbnb space. Like, Airbnb is an arm of owning rental properties that if it's in the right place, in the right location, like I know you and I are both of the opinion, we want to utilize a property to its best use. And if its best use is an Airbnb, well, we need to figure out how the fuck we're going to run an Airbnb if that's its best use and it can make 5x the cash flow of a regular rental. So that's been a cool piece too, just slowly starting to learn what that management piece looks like so that down the road with other partners or finally maybe taking down a deal myself, I have that better understanding if it's going to be utilized as an Airbnb.
Well, good shit, dude. That sounds like a sweet deal. I didn't know any of these numbers. I mean, like I said at the start, dude, I have to like stick a gun into your head in order for you to tell me any of this. So it's interesting to hear. When does football season start?
Football season starts September.
Dude.
And it'll run... Notre Dame, they've traditionally been one of the top ranked schools. So if they fall in the top 4, that could extend the season by a little bit because of playoffs. But yeah, should run September to like November ish, maybe December if they get in the playoffs. So
you're talking 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
We should do a recap in January and see.
We should do a check-in, temperature check.
See how the football season went, dude, because that's going to be huge.
Yeah, that's the hope and that's the plan. So we'll see how things shake up.
Christmas money.
That's it. Frig, dude. I know. Wedding money, bro. Wedding money. Your boy's got an expensive year coming up.
We should do a podcast at the Airbnb.
Dude, that would be sick.
A drinking podcast.
Oh, bro.
Sitting on the pool table.
Pool table, play some darts, play some poker. Let's go, dude. For the podcast, we'll throw the link in the description. It's already up on the Airbnb. You guys can go check out the videos.
He's writing off 50% of the rent for your stay. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Come on, dude. Stop. I didn't tell you to say that out loud. No, but we'll throw in that link. It's all set. You guys can check out the photos. Have not posted a video on social media yet. That's the plan. So honestly, when this podcast is live sometime here soon, while you guys are listening, I may have already done the post with the video so you guys can kind of check out the walkthrough. But yeah, man, overall, crazy deal, crazy experience. We'll see how things shape up during football season.
Dude, well, thanks for sharing. We're gonna have a little bit of a delay in the next couple weeks here with me going out of town to Bama, Cade out to South Bend. Jonathan, our videographer, has got some family trips during the summertime here. You may see a little bit of a delay for the podcast, but rest assured we will be back. Maybe 1 week delay, max maybe 2 weeks, and then we'll be back on schedule.
That's it. Let's go.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great week.